Hello and welcome back. We are on the road adventure and this is the MSR Habitude 4 tent. Now for those of you who don't know us, we are moto campers. We travel all around Europe and we rely heavily on this tent.
One of the things we were looking for is the tent to be able to stand up in. As a newbies to all this, we wanted something quite comfortable. And this tent, weighing just under 6 kilos, actually was the lightest of the big ones we could find and we looked through. So we went with this one. It's not the smallest, but it's the smallest of the big ones that we found so far that you can stand up in.
So when it comes to motor camping tents, the size really does matter, and it's a constant trade-off between having something really small and light, which is really convenient to carry on the bike, but really inconvenient for two full-size adults and all our kit to be inside. So after much research, the MSR Habitude 4 is where we ended up. So to give you an idea of the size of this thing, it is pretty much shoulder width apart. And it says that it weighs just under 6 kilos. So something we really like about this tent is that it comes with this sort of easy open drawstring bag. We've had one tent previous to this. It was much bigger and heavier and not suited to motor camping, but trying to put that thing back in the bag was an absolute nightmare. So this is a detail we really appreciate and would definitely be looking for in future tents. So we've got two simple clips on the bag outside. You can have all this really loose so that when you're putting your things back inside it really is easy, and then it'll all cinch down to get it in the smallest space possible. Now bear in mind, as we show you this tent, we have a lot of experience with this tent now. We wanted to wait a good while before we've shown you so that we can be honest in what we found and how we've used it. We took this tent on a solid month motor camping tour. We stayed in it almost every night for a month. We've done several weekends and shorter trips, and we are now on a 2-month tour using this tent, and with absolute faith in it. So the tent isn't packed as new, nor is it immaculately clean. So this is the inner part of the tent. Wrapped up inside this is the bag with the poles in. There's 3 aluminium poles inside. We'll show you that in a second. And then inside here, that is the outer fly for the tent. We also keep wrapped up in this bag this selection of tent pegs. Something we discovered about camping very early on is that you will need a selection of pegs. But this tent comes with these MSR tent pegs, as you would expect. I believe you get a couple of spare as well as all the ones that you need. These have actually been very good. Here's an example of a cheaper one that we bought on Amazon. Don't waste your time or money, absolutely useless. These are Y-shaped pegs, which again we bought separately to this tent. These do work well, but they can be very sharp on the end, and so when you're pushing it into the ground, the chances of cutting your hand is quite high, so again, not ideal. I would recommend sticking to the MSR tent pegs that it comes with this rounded top. They work well, they don't bend easy, and you're not going to cut your hands or your feet pushing them in. Recently, inevitably, as much as we've been using this tent, we've been running short on the quality MSR tent pegs. I'm sure they sell more of those separately, but we're touring right now, so we needed to grab some more, and we picked up these from Decathlon, and they've actually been quite good so far. These are also not bending, so we can recommend those. Lastly, something that we recommend that you get to protect the life of your tent and you as well from the ground is additional to the Habitude 4. You can buy the MSR ground sheet, which is cut exactly to size for this tent, and we would recommend you do that. So inside this rather fetching pink bag is the MSR ground sheet. It does come with a pocket on it, and when you buy it new, this ground sheet will be folded up perfectly inside there. And we haven't successfully took the time or managed to fold that back up in there. So what we recommend is carry a carrier bag with you, fold it up and put it in the carrier bag, because this will get wet and dirty and you don't want to put that inside your tent with your tent inners.
I think the first time we were putting the tent, it was about an hour. And now we get as good as 10 minutes, depending on if it's raining or not. So we're just going to show you how easy it is to put the tent up. And more importantly, we have tested that you can put this tent all by yourself and you can take it down all by yourself as well. So it's not that difficult if you know how.
Once you've picked your spot, and make sure there's no sharp stones or rubble or anything underneath your tent, simple case. Peg out your ground sheet, one in each corner. So this is the inner part of the tent and how we pack it. Inside here is the poles. So there's 3 poles inside. One of them is the longer pole and 2 shorter ones for the side, but they're also colour coded as well. We'll get them out, we'll show you.
Okay, so this is the bigger one that you need to just put in together. Just slide them in and connect all together.
So to show you, this is one of the 2 shorter poles, and these are black on the end, and the longer pole that makes the cross pole is red on the end. That matches up with the clips. We'll show you that in a second. Okay, so next job, grab your tent, throw it out on top of your ground sheet, and you need to determine where the door is and which way you want to face it. A top camping tip we were told is that to try to make sure that when you open the door, the wind isn't blowing into it on a gusty day, because you're going to make a carry bag for your tent and make your life difficult. So in a perfect scenario, face the door away from the wind. So we're going to grab 4 more pegs, peg down the corners of the tent.
As you can see, the pole needs to go into this metal hook. There's 2 of them. I don't really think it matters which one's which. And then once you erect that in 4 corners, you put this red clips on the red one as the red end. And now, let's put the other poles on each side. So the other 2 poles are dark on the end, and also they're considerably smaller. So you put 1 each, take it up like this, put it into an X shape, put it into the remaining metal hook on each end.
And just to make this even more foolproof, the shorter dark poles go with these clips that are grey here. So the red matches up, and then the shorter ones match up with these grey ones. So you cannot get this wrong. And look how easy this is to connect and disconnect. Just brilliant. And after you've done the clips on the side, last job for this is to grab the other end of the black and connect that up here. Simple as that. Okay, we've got all 3 posts connected up here. So let's have a look at the inner part of the tent before we put the fly sheet over. Now this tent can be used in hot weather just as it is, and you'll get the best ventilation, although obviously if it rains you'll get in wet. Come and have a closer look. So this is the front of the tent. We have a nice big ventilation area here, but it's very fine mesh, so the mozzies aren't getting inside the tent. So as long as you keep this door shut, you're good inside. And it's the same story over the top half of the tent. It's the same mesh, allowing maximum airflow, keeping the mozzies out. However, a con to this tent is that if you need to pitch this when it's really raining, water will come through. But as we've found out, it's really not the end of the world to put the fly sheet over, and then we just get inside and run a towel around on the floor, and it's no problem really. And at the rear of the tent, we have another ventilation area here. So we've got airflow coming through the front, through the back, and we'll show you in a minute, when we've got the fly over the back, there's a little bit of a window bit there as well to let ventilation through. Now we have found that on a hot day, this isn't really enough. So if you are camping somewhere like Morocco, or you're going somewhere it's going to be really hot, perhaps this one isn't for you. Okay, next job. Let's get that fly sheet on. This is probably, if you're doing this on your own, the hardest part, but it's definitely possible. It just takes a couple of throws. So it doesn't matter which way you do this, but you need to find either the front or the back. On the back there's that triangle window we were referring to earlier, and on the front there's obviously the large zip door.
Now that you have this over, there are Velcro clips like underneath, so you need to find all of them and do them. I'll show you. Right, so this is the Velcro here, and you just do it around here. That's it. And then you've got another one here, and that just goes around the pole. So there's 3 each side. You just do them. And then, important, you've got this is adjustable, but you've got this metal hook thing like hole, and you just need to, on each corner, find somewhere to clip it down. And that is it. And then after you're done there, you can adjust the length, whatever you need.
Okay, so last bit, we're going to put out this vestibule. So again, these toggles are adjustable so you can pull the tent taut later. So I tend to pull them nice and loose. Slide your peg through the hole. This is the second one for the vestibule. Again, I've made that nice and loose so we've got plenty of slack. Push that one in, and you'll see now this is too slack. That's not going to be very good, so we're going to pull these nice and tight, and you're going to do that all the way around the tent. Another reason, after much discussion, we went with this tent for our tours is because it's freestanding. That means that you don't need any guy lines to pull the whole tent taut and keep it upright in its position. The frame is doing that for us. However, in windy conditions, ideally you want to peg it down. But we were in situations where there was a gravel ground or places where we couldn't peg it down at all, and this tent was still able to perform. Okay, so guy lines, we have one each side and one at the rear of the tent. We need these pegged down. You want these ideally at about a 45-degree angle to the ground, with your peg again a 45-degree angle to that. That's going to give you maximum stability and keep this nice and taut, keep that rain running off. So we put that one in, and then there is an adjuster here. If you want to pull this tighter, just pull your adjuster up. So on the side we have these last 2 remaining guide lines. In windy conditions you definitely want to put these out, and what I've learnt the hard way is that when you're not using it, tie them back up on a loose knot, because otherwise when you put the tent back in the bag, these end up in a right mess and you'll wish you had tied it up in the first place. Same story each side, and pull the adjuster taut. Right, there we go, tent's up, pitch, nice and easy, no problems at all. Let's open it up, go inside, we'll show you what it's like. So on the outer vestibule we've got these clips so we can roll back the door, get that out of the way, and they won't be flapping around in the wind. Just push that through there. Job done. So on the MSR we have got good quality YKK zippers. We have one vertical, one horizontal.
So this is your view of inside the tent. I think it looks quite interesting. I quite like it. And the tallest point is 185 centimeters. So I'm about 168, I think. And it's perfectly enough space. So what I like about this tent is that it has a lot of pockets. You've got 2 small pockets like this. This one's quite bigger. Then you've got one in each corner, and then the smaller one in there. So all of your handy things like phones and whatever small things you need to keep near you. The same goes for the other side, but you've got also this big one, which we have damaged a little bit with something sharp, I believe, but it's not a big deal. It's been damaged ages ago and it's like that since. This is where the back airflow is. I'll show you that from the outside in a second. For the UK or some sort of not really hot climates, this is a perfect tent. As we mentioned before, if you're traveling or you're planning to travel somewhere like Morocco, then this could be a little bit too hot for you. Unless you are the sort of person that is up and running at 6 a.m, then you can pack up before the sun. This is how your tent looks like from the back. And Rich, can you open the vent?
Yeah. So this is simply held closed with a little bit of Velcro, and there's a bit of a tougher piece there. And that holds that open. You get a little bit of airflow through there.
But you will definitely not get cool in that tent in the heat.
So while we're on airflow, back inside the tent, we can see that the inner of the tent does not touch the outside of the tent. So if you do end up with some condensation, it will sit on the outer shell of the tent. And we have never had any moisture inside this tent, and we've been in some really heavy rain and storms. And we've also cooked inside the vestibule as well when it's been raining. We do open the door as best we can to let any condensation out. But yeah, none of the inside of the tent touches the outside of the tent.
Right, if you need to do anything in this part of the tent, look how much space there is. So you wouldn't really fit maybe 2 chairs, but sometimes when I don't want to sit inside the tent, I take my camping chair and sit down here while the bags are on this side here, and it's perfectly fine. Also, if you need to make a quick cup of tea or heat something up, we have done that before. We didn't do 3-hour long session of camp cooking, but we have cooked in this very space and it was all fine.
So that's our MSR Habitude 4 tent. So let's go over some of the pros. Firstly, the thing that I like most about it, and for me was very important, we're bikers and we need to put on and off our bike kit. And I felt that being able to stand and get dressed in the tent was crucial for our needs.
What I like about this tent, I think I like the pockets, so I can put my lipstick here, my lip balm, my phone, and then different things, and I have enough space to charge the gadgets and do all the things that I need to do.
Those pockets as well,
yeah.
They're so useful in the middle of the night because they're right by your head. You store your head torch or your phone in there and you can grab that in the middle of the night without disturbing the other one kicking around looking for things. So they really are useful.
And also there is a lot of little material hooks that you can attach different things to, which we have in the past put ropes through and used it as a drying line. Also when you have your wet towel and after you showered, some of the camping towels have a little hook and you can just hook it to the top of the tent so it dries instead of stinking in the morning, which also we have done in the past. So
those hooks, they're also really useful for the camp light as well. There's multiple places you can hook things in there, but yeah, without a simple hook in the middle, you'd have a problem.
With any light, we found out that if you hold it in your hand, it doesn't really light up the tent. You have to put it inside on top of the tent, which actually works. And there is little different hooks which you can, whatever you like, you'll find a fit for it in that tent. I also think that for people who are not experienced in camping, this is a good one because it's not overly heavy. This one is lighter than most tents that you can see, with actually less square footprint inside. So it's quite easy to pitch. Once you do it once or twice, you will get better at it. So that's pretty good. Price-wise, it sounds expensive, but if you look on different websites, we managed to find ours for 384. That is minus the footprint, which alone is like 60 to 80 pounds, depends on which website you're gonna find it, and we definitely recommend adding that. Well, if you use your tent well enough, then the price of it will pay for itself.
We've gone moto travelling, like I say, for literally months at a time, and this tent has paid for itself time and time and time again. And another positive for bikers is we love the fact that we can put our bikes right outside and have easy access to all our things, instead of having to leave it outside of the road on a hotel and in a car park. So the camping thing was very new to us when we started and we bought this tent, and we have really grown to love it. And I think a strong reason for that is because we did spend out the money and we did get a quality tent. And on the note of it being a quality tent, this tent has stood up to some mega storms. And if you're a follower of the channel, you will remember the time when a tree fell on the tent. And we took the tree off of it and there wasn't a single bit of damage, not a tear, not a rip, not a broken pole.
Pretty good, and doesn't leak after that. But there was a lot of stretch on the tent, but
it was amazing, really. I mean, yeah, 10 out of 10 to MSR for that.
We would like to try smaller tents. This is quite big, and you know, that is equivalent to this one, just lower and lighter. Maybe we'll try that one, or maybe we'll find something from a different brand to try it on.
So that brings us to cons of this tent. So as we've mentioned before, and probably our biggest downside with this tent is airflow. When it's hot, it does get really hot in that tent.
Yeah.
It is a boil in the bag situation.
It's miserable.
So that's the MSR Habitude 4. We've really struggled to think of any more cons. For us, this tent is second to none. We are really interested in trying some smaller ones simply because of the pack size, but you can't have it always, as we've found out. If you guys have any questions on this tent, by all means, pop them in the comments, and hopefully the video's been of help to you in choosing your next motor camping tent.